Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today, well, as it's Christmas, this isn't particularly vintage, but it's certainly junk. We've got some of those super cheap LED battery powered Christmas lights. Now, I bought a set of these to Christmas up the back of my pickup truck. I've got tinsel basically around the bar on the back of my pickup truck, and just to add to the effect I bought a set of these lights to go around them. Now the thing is, I mean, these cost £1.25 for a set. I mean, they are really cheap. They're actually quite good as to get parts from, to be honest. Let's get this open. This is what you get for your £1.25. Now I will say, the set that I bought when I actually got them, they were actually broken. There was a break in the wire between the battery holder there and the actual string of lights itself. But I don't think I've got any batteries just kicking about. Let's just have a quick look, see if I've got any. Ah, yes I have, I've got some over there. Bear with me a second, folks. Yes, we've got some JCB brand cheapo batteries here. These will do. Otherwise, I could have just connected it up to my bench power supply. But let's see if it actually does function. Yeah, there we go. Nice and bright. And they'll run on them batteries for, you know, a few hours. But it's not the most environmentally friendly thing. You know, just if you want to use them, you know, all over Christmas, you will go through a fair few sets of batteries like that with them. A far more environmentally friendly and I see better thing to do is to convert these things to run off 5 volts so they can run off USB. Basically that's what I've done with the set that I've got in my truck. I've converted them to 5 volts USB, and then I'm just powering them from one of those 12 volt cigarette lighter adapters to 5 volt USB plugs, you know, for charging your phone in the car. I've just got it plugged into one of them and I can just switch it on when I want to. So basically I'll just show you what I did for these. Right, first thing is, what I'll say is, if you go on eBay and you want a little AA battery snap holder like that with a switch, I think the minimum you'll pay is about £1.50 plus postage. So the whole thing's £1.20. You know, if that's what you need, this is the time of year. Just buy a load of them and salvage the the battery holders off them. They are good for that, but so in this instance, it's not that I want. I will keep them because they are useful. It's the string of LEDs. In fact, these warm white ones, if you're into modelling, perhaps doing model railways or other kind of like, you know, scenery modelling and stuff like that, these are great for putting lights in windows in little models, in model trains and stuff like that. And they are dirt cheap at this. I mean, you get 20 plus the holder for £1.25. Sorry, I think it was £1. It was either £1.20 or £1.25. If we get rid of that blob of glue there, see, we haven't even had to use anything to get rid of the glue. I'll shove that back in. Like that. So we know that's the negative connection, that side there, that goes onto the spring side there. The other side's the positive connection. So let's we'll desolder that from the switch. So you even get a nice little side switch on it for what you're paying. We'll pull that wire out first. We'll just tie a knot in that so we know that that is our positive rail. So that's just to remind us that that's the positive. Then we can disconnect the other side. There we go. We'll pull that out and we'll get that out of the way. So they're not a bad little AA holder then, especially having the little switch on it. They're useful for various little projects you might want to work on. Put that to one side because we don't need that now. We've got our string of LEDs. We only need, at the basic level, we only need 2 other things. We will use 3 other things. First thing we're going to need is an old USB cable. I always keep, oh, not that one, that's a good one. Where have I got a bad one? There's a bad one. It's a nice long one as well. A long one's obviously is quite good for this because you don't necessarily want your power source right next to where you've got your lights. So this is a super long old iPhone cable that's broken. I've got a load of these in an Argos customer returns a lot that I got. You saw me playing with some old Bluetooth speakers I got off the same lot, and there was a big bag of these in there, and most of them have the end broken off like that. But I presume the person that was selling it out there going to be no use to anyone. But these are great. If you need just a USB cable for something, these are fantastic for it. So what we'll do, we'll lock the end off that, get rid of that. We'll strip this back a bit. Like that. Get rid of the screen. Let's get into the actual wires inside. Alright, there we go. And we've got a red, a white, a green, sorry, a red, a white, a green, and a one that hasn't got any insulation on it. And we want the red one and the one that hasn't got any insulation on it. The other 2 are the data wires. We don't need them for what we're using this for, so we can snip them off. What we can do is that outer foil, we'll tease that bit of foil out of there because we don't need that. So we'll get rid of the outer, that bit of foil because we can't solder that. That won't solder. We'll snip that off like that. And we'll take the rest of the screen and we'll wrap the screen with that one that we took from the inside. Because it was quite thin, it'll just reinforce it a bit and get us a decent negative connection there. Okay, so we've got our negative connection there, we've got our positive there. That's all we need out of this USB cable. We'll bear up the positive, our red. Now, this is where I'm going a little bit over what you have to do. I'm just going to take some bits of heat shrink at this point. So we'll take a small piece of that thin stuff, and this stuff, this is a 3:1. This is quite a wide heat shrink like that, but it shrinks down really small. So we'll take a piece of that. Now you could just use insulation tape for that part. You don't need to use heat shrink. It's just I'm using it because I've got it. It's right here. But I said you don't need to use heat shrink for that part. You could just use insulating tape. And the only other part we're going to need, now this is not critical. You can get away with various different values depending on what intensity you want out of these. But what I've got there is a 47 ohm resistor. I've used 100 ohm in the past when I wanted the lights a lot dimmer. Say you wanted somewhere where you just want a very small amount of light coming out, you would use a 100 ohm resistor. I want about the same kind of intensity as you saw with it running off batteries, so we should get away with a 50 ohm there. And it's really as simple as, if we take our negative, in fact let's get the soldering and let's just tin these wires up. tin up that wire there, tin up that wire there. There we go. Now what we want to do, take the we'll take that piece of green heat shrink and put that down there, all the way over it like that. And we'll take the resistor, and the legs are far too long on it, so we'll cut the legs quite short, so about 10mm on that side, and we'll bend that over and round. Fold it on itself like that. Just give us something to take some solder to. And we'll do the same on that side. That's just under 10mm there. Again, we'll just bend it round like that, and we'll tin the ends of them up. And you see what I'm doing there. Hopefully you can. So we'll just tin that up. Bit on that side there, bit on that side there, like that. We'll take the, we'll start with the positive side, it'll make life easier. We'll trim that down a bit because that was a bit too much. We want to just solder that onto the resistor. There we go. That should do. So there we've got the resistor soldered onto the plus 5 volts there. And we'll take our string of lights, and we're taking the one that we put the knot in, which we know is off the positive side of the battery through the switch. We'll take the knot out of it. We'll take that piece of heat shrink that we cut earlier, and we'll thread that over it like that. We've already got some solder on the end of there, so we don't need to worry about that. What we need to do, make sure the heat shrink's right out of the way, because we don't want to accidentally shrink that. We'll heat that up and we'll solder that in position like that. Bring the heat shrink over it. Like I said, you could use insulation tape for that. It doesn't have to be heat shrink, it's just I'm doing that because I've got it. I should have really used a slightly thicker heat shrink actually. I think I might have to use a little bit of insulation tape because I've used a slightly too thin piece of heat shrink there. So I'll take a little piece of insulation tape and we'll just finish it off. All we want to do really is insulate the resistor. So that's okay like that. And all we need to do, that'll come over there like that. We'll take the other side of the LED string and we'll solder that onto the negative from the USB stick. That should do. Is that taken okay? Yeah, that's a good solid join. And we can put them side by side, obviously because we've got the insulating tape over there, it's not going to short out. Pull the green heat shrink right the way over. Now I'll use my hot air here, but you could use a lighter. Or you could just do this with a piece of insulation tape. It doesn't have to be heat shrink like I said. I think I just need my airflow up a little bit there. There we are. I'll just shrink that down. There we go. That should do. And there we go. Our LEDs. Get me through there, that's better. There's our string of 20 LEDs. We've got a USB plug on that side. Now where is my spare USB socket gone? I should really prepare better before I start making these videos, you know. I'll have to pinch the one off the camera and hope that the battery in the camera will last more than a couple of minutes. Right, there we go. So I'll plug that in. Let me get you up there so you can see. We've got there you go, you can see everything now. We've got some sockets here, so we'll plug that into there like that. Oh, there's still some power in that, so you see it works. Plug that in there, switch on. There we go. So they're not overly bright, they're about the same as they were on the 3V AA batteries. We're not overrunning the LEDs or anything. I have done them dimmer than this by putting a 100 ohm resistor in rather than a 50 ohm, but like I said, in this point I wanted that little bit more brightness. I used a 50 when I put them in the back of my truck, and that's quite bright actually. I should have probably put a 100 in there and have them a little bit dimmer than they are. Switch them back off. You can see how little power they take. These sort of the reserve capacitor in this, it's just an old iPhone charger. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. Like I say, it was just a little Christmas quickie. Just show you for £1.20, £1.25 and a resistor, what's that, a penny and a bit of scrap. You can make these a lot more usable. Anyway, like I say, I hope you enjoyed that little video. Thanks for watching and goodbye.